Why should and does the international community support the European Humanities University?
The European Humanities University has a fine tradition of instruction and learning in the area of liberal arts and freedom of speech. The university has been a partner of mine and my organization since 1992-93 in Belarus, and we worked together to see the emergence of this sort of very new model of higher education on former Soviet soil. And that involved in some ways not a copying, not a slavish copying of some Western model, European or North American, but rather a new model that was inherently Middle Europe in some ways. It drew on some of the deep intellectual traditions, the strong theoretical schools that have informed a lot of university thinking in this part of the world, in Lithuania and Russia and Belarus and Ukraine and so forth, at the same time looking at new models of inquiry, new ways of asking questions that inform not only the research coming out of EHU, but the whole kind of concept of what it means to be an educated person. In a sense, an area where technocracy was strong had to give way to some other way of creating critical thinking skills, new perspectives on innovation, and kind of preparing a new generation for really the 21st century workforce. That's what EHU is about.
Who would you recommend to study at EHU?
I think in some broad sense, I would recommend that anybody consider work at EHU. But what's interesting about European Humanities University is that its roots are in Belarus and this sort of remarkable crossroads in Europe, that not only in terms of East and West, but also North and South. And in some ways, Belarus is an interesting geographical, cultural, linguistic, philosophical part of the world where there are a lot of interesting questions to be asked. So it has a special meaning if you're Belarus, because it's maybe the only institution at all in the region right now that can pose the big questions about learning and the 21st century from this sort of rooted Belarusian perspective on the world. So if I were Belarusian, I would say, regardless of my background, I would value the kind of open, free education that I could get at EHU.
Okay, Professor Davidson, do you see any light at the end of the tunnel so that the university might get back to Minsk one day?
This is really our fervent hope. As an internationalist, I'm not Belarusian, I'm not even Slavic, and I'm certainly not from this part of the world. But my hope is that EHU truly belongs in Belarus. It has regional outreach in the sense that it, in some ways, is a world university too, with special knowledge and understanding of Lithuania, Ukraine, Belarus, Russia, Moldova, Poland. It has kind of a natural place in the world. But I absolutely believe that it will go back to Belarus in good time, that Belarus will need it. And its time out of Belarus has brought it into contact with Lithuania, with the European Union, and in some ways has made its development possible. Some of the things that EHU does is only possible in a free country like Lithuania. And that's special, that probably it's been able to move more quickly and evolve in some very kind of exciting, innovative ways that would have been more difficult. But it's real, the magnetism and the gravity always pulls it back to Belarus in terms of the way it's thinking, where its students are from, where its faculty are from, and where all its sort of intellectual roots are. So, it will find its way back.
Okay. I hope it's not too personal question, but how would you characterize students and lecturers at this university?
It's not too personal at all. It's a really good question. I find them all, from Rector Mikhailov to the faculty and the deans to the students that I've come to know and value over these years, as talented, heroic people who care more about intellectual freedom and freedom of inquiry than sort of playing it safe. Because crossing this border and taking certain risks has not made their lives easier.
No,
right?
Not.
But it's, I think, intellectually in the long time has provided them with a preparation and a kind of an understanding of the world that you really can't get if you sit at home.
Yeah.
Right? So I admire their mobility and their ability to take risks and to move outside their comfort zone, And I think in a sense real learning has taken place as a result of that. But it has been a risk, and some people have sacrificed a lot, to save the university.
Personally, academically, socially, you name it.
In all sorts of ways.
Yeah.
But one has to say in that context, what a wonderful, welcoming country Lithuania has been in this, because, you know, to take on a university kind of without warning, you know, without any kind of advanced planning or preparation.
Right.
It says something about the historic relationship between Lithuania and Belarus, that you really are, on some historical level,
Yeah, you can't deny that.
you are part of the same
Yeah.
place, you know,
Exactly.
and so in that sense, it's not like they moved to Mongolia or they moved to China or something,
Yeah.
right? They moved to a neighboring region that has still a deep understanding of who they are. And
Okay.
but we're all, I think, all of us in the international education community are grateful to Lithuania for the welcome that you've given.
Okay. Well, last but not least, would you tell what is the current direction of the EHU? What are the perspectives? Where will they end up? Which is the better place?
The Board of Governors of EHU has prepared and discussed in great detail a strategic plan. Like any kind of modern organization, that plan helps us both in planning and in sort of making decisions as we go along, not in some rigid kind of straitjacketing way, but rather a sense to sort of look at what our assumptions and hopes are for the university, what our possibilities are, and to sort of guide the institution year by year as it moves forward. And I think right now we hope that EHU can continue to build its donor base, can to some way improve our sustainability. We're moving right now to about 25% self-sustaining. That means that even while we're heavily dependent on international donors, private and public, and member states in the EU, as well as North American donors, that even as that vitally important support is in place, we also are developing abilities to maintain ourselves through tuition revenue, through special programs for grant activity. And right now, I'm happy to say that as of September of 2010-11, we'll be at about a 25% self-sustainability. As an old kind of historic participant in EHU, I can tell you that before we were closed in 2003, 2004, this university was actually at nearly 100% sustainability.
Oh.
So it
was
is
popular.
It was
top-notch university.
It was top-notch. It was popular. It was sought after. And while it did enjoy support from international donors, that was only to enhance the program. It really was approaching full 100% sustainability when it was suddenly and unexpectedly closed by that government.
Yeah.
And so that's its way of managing itself, is not to be a client of donors or a kind of recipient, a consumer of assistance, but rather it seeks to sustain itself, and that's an inherent quality of EHU as well.